Before the break, we were talking about the downside of worrying about what it might do to Trump's ego to know that there is something called a taco trade. Trump always chickens out. It is the story of his entire political rise.
I think that the risk that we were talking about before the break, which is there a danger in trying to goad or intentionally or unintentionally goading Trump? That's a real risk, and we know that because of his political career. So in 2011, Barack Obama gives this brilliant roast of Donald Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner after Trump had been going after him with the birther movement and so forth. And Barack Obama, in his cool way, just eviscerates him. And you see Donald Trump in the moment boiling over. And the reporting on it is that that was a really pivotal moment that galvanized him then to run for president. So he does detest being mocked, though he certainly likes mocking other people. So that risk is real. I think the fact that we are even having this conversation points to the bizarro world that we're in Trump 2 and in Trump 1, but particularly in Trump 2, where, we're thinking about, what if we make fun of Trump and then he'll respond in this way? And the chaos that will be unleashed could be really damaging for America's standing in the world and the American economy. The fact that we are having that conversation points to this weird environment in which, some people seem to be treating Trump like a senile uncle who needs to be appeased. And it's in the media, that's certainly not our job. Our job is to tell the truth as we see it. You see in Congress and the people around Trump, people continuing to try to placate him, trying to play to his worst instincts, to all of his instincts in a way that's counterproductive, I think. And the question is when they will grow a spine in Congress, when some people might stand up to him, what would be the set of events that would trigger Congress behaving like grown-ups and not trying to just pledge fealty to this president?
Charlie, do you, on your bingo card, even play that game anymore? I mean, is there a point where they respond to their constituents instead of Donald Trump's whims?
Not in the foreseeable future, because, you and I have been talking about this for 10 years right now. How many times have they had opportunities to do that? The political costs are simply too high for them. And frankly, look, waiting around for Republicans to show any sort of independence, I think, is a fool's errand. Now, on the edges, perhaps they will push back, here or there. But the whole issue of tariffs has been so illustrative because it will have such a tremendous impact on the economy, on their own constituents. They have the inherent power to block the tariffs. They are the Article 1 body in the Constitution, and yet they have surrendered. They have ceased functioning as a legislative body in many respects. But going back to your question about the dangers of humiliating Donald Trump, you know how I feel about this. I wish we could humiliate him on a daily basis. I wish that we could mock him. But Charlotte's absolutely right. This is the bizarro world that we're living in, where everybody is walking around on eggshells, afraid to anger the senile uncle who has incredibly thin skin. And the thing about Donald Trump is he is, of course, a complete narcissist, but he has a very, very thin skin, and he's dangerous because he has the power and he has no restraint. And I think that's just something that kind of the reality that we have to deal with. Now, there are some people who say that, that's a counsel of defeatism, that, resistance is futile, that we can't do anything about it. But it is the reality that we're living in right now. And I think that to the extent that we can point out the absurdity of Donald Trump, the fact that we can, in fact, show that the emperor does have no clothes. And by the way, there's always a value to pointing out that the emperor is, in fact, buck naked when it is Donald Trump. I think we ought to take that risk.
Well, Robert, I guess I would push back a little bit on the premise that anyone humiliated Donald Trump other than Donald Trump. The truth of the number of times that he blinked is a data point that exists in public. We didn't no investigative journalist dug up the number of times Trump balked because of the poor reception to his tariffs. And they were announced, they were paused, they were raised, they were dropped, they were put back in, they were pulled off. 100 deals in 100 days, there were none. Now there's a framework for one with the UK and the beginning of talks in Switzerland with China. No framework, no deal. So that's, and I am no economist, but I could read a newspaper. So no one's humiliating Donald Trump except Donald Trump.
Look, the reason the taco trade joke, which is kind of a dumb joke, stuck is because it has this huge element of truth in it. And yes, a lot of times in the last, 12 or 18 hours since that conversation in the White House, people have either written me or mentioned me on social media saying this guy's dumb joke is going to cause a recession. And I don't like that at all. I meant to make a joke, not cause a recession. But there is a serious question here about, as Charlotte and Charlie have just argued so well, there's a serious question about a world in which you're not allowed to make fun of the president. He's the president. I am an inky-fingered hack making a dumb joke. I'm the one who's supposed to behave carefully around the president of the United States? How did we get here? I mean, the situation, Bazaar doesn't even begin to cover it, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and Robert, I would argue if we enter into a recession, it will have nothing to do with you. It will be Donald Trump's policies that tip us toward a recession. And if you look at how, look, the study of, body of fiction around dysfunctional families, it's the same story all the time. An otherwise normal body bends and collapses around the mentally ill or addicted or most sick member of the family. A country is the same. So we had the Republican Party collapse onto itself around the dysfunctional leader. And then you had all of the, sort of partisan actors collapse. And now you're seeing Trump collapse the economy around his dysfunction.
It's not altogether unlike the inner circle of Biden collapsing around him. He was frail. He was really unqualified to be president. They knew it, and they collapsed around him. And that was no good. And similarly, treating the current president with kid gloves by his advisors or by the press or by anybody else is a bad idea. It was a bad idea with a Democrat. It's a bad idea with a Republican. We shouldn't do it.